week 17 of the fantasy baseball season. And here's a few hitters I look to sell and trade this week. The first guy, Lars Nootbaar of the St. Louis Cardinals. So Nootbaar, it's been an up and down year for him, but now obviously he's going to get that playing time each and every day, it looks like, for a Cardinal team that's a disappointing season. They're out of the race. They've sold off a few players. And now Nootbaar, he's going to get the opportunity. On the year, 10 home runs, 34 RBIs, 52 runs scored, 7 stolen bases, 276 average. And this on-base percentage is great, 379 on the year. In the last month of the season, he's been tearing it up as Nootbaar, now getting an everyday opportunity finally and healthy. 5 home runs, 11 RBIs, 21 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 322 average, and a 423 on base. I just don't buy that Nootbaar is going to keep it up at this level, obviously, for the St. Louis Cardinal team, especially the last 2 weeks. His on-base percentage is a 510 as well with a 395 on base, so right now he's playing out of this world. I know he's the catalyst at the top of the order for this Cardinal team, either batting first or third usually, but I just don't buy it. So right now, while he's playing great baseball, he's a guy I would sell high. I'm not saying he's a bad ball player, but I'm saying these numbers are far-fetched for him to keep up this season. And right now, while he's white hot, it's a perfect sell-high candidate. July 26th at the Diamondbacks, 3 for 4, a homer, 2 ribs. July 28th versus the Cubs, 2 for 4, 2 homers, and 2 RBIs. July 29th versus the Cubs, 1 for 2 with a rib. July 30th versus the Cubs, 1 for 4 run. And August 1st versus the Twins, and that one, 2 for 4. So right now, he's playing great baseball. Here's Lars Nootbaar, but like I said, I just don't see him keeping it up. And this Cardinal team, they've had trouble all season in every aspect of the game to drive in runners, to keep up winning streaks, and just keep up good hitting. So right now, with all those factors, he's definitely a hitter I look to sell this week. The next hitter is Nico Hoerner of the Chicago Cubs. So Hoerner, it's been a pretty solid year for him, no doubt about it. But once again, I think he's playing a little bit over his head in terms of the power and the batting average in the last few weeks. On the season, 8 home runs, 58 RBIs, 62 runs scored, 26 stolen bases, a 279 average, and a 333 on base. So we know we're not going to get power out of Nico Hoerner. He'll most likely finish the year 13, 15 home runs. Stolen bases is a specialty, obviously, this year, especially with the rule changes and the bigger bases. So he definitely could reach that 40 base plateau. And the on base has been solid. And this Cub team, they were a team that was going to sell off, but they've been buyers at the trade deadline, getting Candelario as their big addition, and that was a good addition, no doubt about it. And Hoerner has been a big part of it, but he's another player that I think's playing a little bit over his head, especially the last few weeks. 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 12 runs scored, 5 stolen bases, a 333 average, and a 410 on base. So right now, while those numbers are great here for Nico Hoerner, and he's been a great table setter for the Chicago Cub team, I think I could get a solid starting pitcher in a deal, because I could find stolen bases pretty much anywhere now this season here. Like I said, with the rule changes, it makes it so easy for runners to steal bases. So the last few games here for Hoerner: July 27th, the Cardinals 1 for 4 run. July 28th at the Cardinals 1 for 5. July 29th at the Cardinals 0 for 4. July 30th at the Cardinals 0 for 4. July 31st versus the Reds 2 for 4 run. And August 1st versus the Reds 3 for 6, a homer, an RBI, a stolen base, and 3 runs scored. So right now, you could trade Nico Hoerner away. Stolen bases, I think you could find places. Runs as well. And that's his specialty pretty much. Runs, stolen bases, and on-base percentage. So those stats, I think, are pretty easier to find than power and RBI. So right now, while he's doing it all in those categories, is Nico Hoerner. He's definitely a hitter I'd look to sell. So if you want to get a power hitter in a deal or trade him for a starter, I think it's pretty easy to do so this week. And to get a solid one at that, the next hit is Alejandro Kirk for the Toronto Blue Jays. So Kirk last season, he was a solid ball player for fantasy baseball, but this year we really haven't seen much out of Kirk, and I know he's been banged up a little bit as well. And Danny Jensen's been catching a decent amount as well on the season, but Kirk this year, numbers aren't great. 6 home runs, 28 RBIs, 20 runs scored, 257 average, and a 340 on base. But the last couple weeks here, he's been on a tear once again. 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 5 runs scored, 448 average, and a 529 on base. So pretty much in the last 2 weeks here, he's gotten half his home runs in that time here, is Alejandro Kirk. And he's a player that I'm not going to trust to do what he did last season. We know catch is a weak position. And right now, while he's playing good baseball, you could pick him up off the waiver wire and flip Kirk since he's a catcher and it's probably the weakest position in fantasy baseball. This will be a time to do it because he's not going to be playing every day. I know he's got some power last season, 14 home runs, and he did hit 285. But right now, I just don't buy that he's going to continue to play a lot. Because like I said, they like Danny Jansen over there in Toronto. And right now, Kirk, yes, he's showing power, but he's not going to do much of anything else, and he's not getting the everyday chance. So right now, he's a perfect sell-high hitter this week. July 25th at the Dodgers, 1 for 4 rib. July 29th versus the Angels, 3 for 4, 2 homers, 3 RBIs. July 30th versus the Angels, 0 for 3. July 31st versus the O's, 1 for 3, and he sat out August 1st ball games. I said he sat out 3 ball games in the last week here, Kirk, which obviously isn't a good sign. So right now, if you pick them up off the wire, I'm not expecting Kirk to keep things up. And like I said, he's a sell-high hitter this week. The next hitter is Brandon Lowe, Tampa Bay Rays. So Brandon Lowe, he got off to a great start early in the season. Then he really dropped off is the production. And now, once again, over the last 2 weeks, he's been on fire. And one of the better hitters in fantasy baseball on the time. On the season, though, 14 home runs, 43 RBIs, 35 runs scored at 228 average, and a 323 on base. But like I said, over the last 2 weeks here, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, 7 runs scored at 326 average, and a 408 on base. So right now, Brandon Lowe is playing good baseball. He's been one of the hotter pickups off the wire the last few days, going up 15% in ownage. But right now, I don't think it's going to keep up. I think it's just a 1 month hot streak here for Brandon Lowe. And like I said, the numbers went so poor this season that his batting average is down to a 210, and he wasn't shown power at all. So right now, while he's playing great over the last month of the season, he's definitely a sell-high candidate. This Ray team, it's been a weird type of year, kind of. They got off to the monster start that was unworldly, kind of, and then they fell back down to earth of late, playing 500 ball. But Brandon Lowe, he's picked things up again once again. And right now, if you could pick him up and flip him in a deal for a starter, this would be the time to do it, in my opinion. July 28th at the Astros, 2 for 3, a homer, 3 RBIs, a stolen base. July 29th at the Astros, 0 for 3. July 30th at the Astros, 3 for 5, a homer, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored. July 31st at the Yankees, 1 for 4, a homer, 2 RBIs. And August 1st at the Yankees, 1 for 3 with an RBI. So right now, playing great baseball is Brandon Lowe. I don't see it keeping up for him. So right now, well, he's at peak value pretty much, and we haven't seen him this hot since April. I think it's just a hot streak that's going to cool off quickly for Lowe. This is the time to sell him high this week. And the fifth and final hitter I look to sell and trade this week here is Ha-Seong Kim of the San Diego Padres. So Kim, he's having one of a year in terms of numbers compared to the last few seasons. And the last month, he's one of the best players in fantasy baseball, ranked 7th in the Times on the season, 14 home runs, 40 RBIs, 57 runs scored, 22 stolen bases, a 281 average, and an awesome 374 on base this season. And the last month, like I said, he's been out of this world, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, 18 runs scored, a 349 average, and a 456 on base. So right now, Kim, I think you could get a lot in India for him because he's showing power, he's stealing bases, his on-base percentage is great, and he's doing a little bit of everything, and he's a good table setter for the San Diego Padre team that's obviously trying to make one last push. 5.5 games out of the wild card where they think they got the talent, and we saw them go out there at the deadline and get Ji-Man Choi, Rich Hill, and Scott Barlow and Garrett Cooper. So they added a lot at the deadline. Kim, he's been a good ball player, but like I said, I think he's playing a little bit over his head. And definitely an adjustment where he was batting 5th to 6th for the most part of the season in the lineup. They moved him to the first spot here as Kim since mid-June, late June, and they definitely seen the results better here is a San Diego team. But right now, I just don't see it keeping up for Kim. Like I said, the last 2 weeks now, he's been the number 1 ranked player in fantasy baseball, and I think it's going to fizzle out a little bit. So he's definitely a sell high hitter this week. July 26th versus the Pirates, 1 for 3, a run. July 28th versus the Rangers, 1 for 2, 2 runs, a stolen base. July 29th versus the Rangers, 2 for 4, 2 ribs. July 30th versus the Rangers, 1 for 1, a run, a stolen base. July 31st at the Rockies, 1 for 4. And August 1st at the Rockies, 2 for 5, an RBI, a stolen base. So right now, it seems like he's getting at least 2 hits a night, a stolen base every other night. And he's scoring a lot of runs as well here is Ha-Seong Kim. So right now, he is definitely a 4 or 5 category type of player. But at the level he's doing it right now, I just don't see it holding up for the remainder of the season. And they've had some easier matchups versus poor pitching staffs the last few series as well, is what bumped his numbers up. So right now, Well, he's playing great baseball, and I think you get a good player, even a 2-for-1 deal. If you could get a mediocre starter and a bat for him, that's definitely a possibility as well. So that's a few hitters I look to sell and trade here in Week 17 of the fantasy baseball season.